Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Procrastinators Pit Stop. We are sitting here today with Richard Tierney. Richard draws on his personal journey through past trauma and depression, and he's developed a transformative 12-step spiritual healing program that empowers individuals to release their past, heal their inner wounds, and live fully in the present. Richard, welcome to the show.
Chris, thank you for having me. We've been looking forward to this. We planned this for your audience. We planned this months ago, and I've been really excited about meeting up with you. It's finally happened. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, well, thank you very much for coming. We definitely have a lot of ground to cover today. But before we dig into it, we do like to have an icebreaker on the show. And the question for you today is, which cartoon character do you resonate with the most and why?
This is very funny. What springs to mind is the Roadrunner. I just thought, I mean, again, this is procrastinator stuff. The Roadrunner for me is this symbol or the synopsis of me as a procrastinator. Stop and start, anxious, apprehensive, all that kind of stuff, all the massive energy or whatever, and nervous energy and getting going and coming and going. It just, there's something about him that kind of reminds me of me being excited or being unexcited or being ready to go or not ready to go. Like that. When he stops and he kind of swing it back and forward. I can kind of identify with that kind of sensation of just swinging back and forth in the space.
I like that. I like that. And we all know that there's no, one cure all or silver bullet for everything. However, you've developed a system, a 12-step system that would also be good for procrastination. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. It's a two-part program. We have to understand that I'm 64 years of age today. I'm sitting here. I'm in Thailand. You're in Canada. And we're doing this podcast. And here I'm safe. My wife is in her bedroom. My children are in their bedroom. It's 11:20 in the evening here. About to go to bed after this. And we're safe. There's no trauma. There's no trouble here in this moment in time. And I'm here with Chris on his podcast in front of his audience on Procrastinators Stop. And I'm safe. Now, if I look back in my past, there was a 12-year-old child who suffered a trauma event. And it was a terrible time for that child. And I feel like that child had such shame and self-loathing that he wanted to kill himself. He felt like he caused the trauma, that he must have sent some signal to this person to harm him. And he was the fault. So he could never tell his parents or anybody. And he hid this and he tried to hide it growing up and not letting people see it. And he did all these drastic, crazy things he thought were good ideas, which drew him further apart from his family. I have to realize that what happened to that 12-year-old child didn't happen to this 64-year-old man. We're two completely different people. I get a sheet of paper and I put in one sheet of paper 12-year-old Richard, and then on the other side I put down 64-year-old Richard. 64-year-old Richard today, both my parents are dead. Of my five siblings, one died of leukemia. So I've got four siblings. I'm living in Thailand, 7,000 miles away from Ireland. My family home is sold. And then all the others are married, got children, and so on. Okay. Then I look at on the left side, 12-year-old Richard lives in his family home. His parents are alive. He's got five siblings. His brother hasn't died of leukemia yet. And he's living in the family home. And if I put a photograph of that 12-year-old child beside that and put a photo of me today, you can see one is an old man and one's a child. There's no comparison. They're not the same person. So we have to understand what happened in the past didn't happen to me. Okay? It happened to a younger person. And I have this day and this day alone, this 24 hours I'm meant to live today. I've got my wife and my children and my job and my clients and my therapy and my friends. And there's so much in this 24 hours to deal with. The idea of going back into the past and taking something from the past and bringing it in on top of the present is really insane. It's none of my business. It didn't happen to me. And another thing what happens is like the idea that my younger self suffered, endured, and survived what he went through so I'd be free today to have a life beyond his wildest dreams. He sacrificed so much so I'd be free today. The fact that I would go back into his past and take his past and bring it into the present and say, this happened to me, is me betraying him and then self-sabotaging my present. Therapists are unable to treat the past because it's in a person's history. So they treat how it manifests in your life. So if the past manifests as nightmares and flashbacks and whatever, they treat that and then you get all these disorders that they create out of the manifestations. But the manifestations, the disorder isn't the core problem. The core problem is that we have something that isn't ours and we must give it back to our younger self.
Thank you for that explanation. So I hear what you're saying. It's other. other philosophies and other books have gone to this as well. But you raise a valid point. If something's in the past, we can't fix it because it's already happened. It's not in front of us. So likewise with the future, if something hasn't happened yet, we can't really deal with it because it hasn't happened yet. So the only place we can really deal with things is in the right now.
But at the same time, because what's happened in the past, we can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend the past didn't happen. That just doesn't work. And you can easily see why. We have to find some process whereby we can take the past and give it to our younger self. And that's what this first part of the two-part session is. We go into this holistic practice where we visualize us meeting our younger self. And we have this conversation, but the younger self says, Richard, what the hell are you doing? I've been trying to get your attention for the last 50 years. I can't cross over into the light until you give me my baggage. Please give me back my baggage so I can leave this plane of existence. And we do this very kind of spiritual visualization where you feel the sensation of taking this weight off your shoulders, off your chest, the hole in your soul, removing it and giving it to your younger self. And you see them taking it and carrying it into the light. And when it leaves this plane of existence, the details leave. So we'd always have the memories. Someone asked me what happened to that 12-year-old child. I have the memory of it, but not the details. So I can't describe to you if it was a hot day or if it was a wet day or a windy day. I can't describe the sweat in the child's brow anymore, or where he stained his trousers, or what that felt like. The details are gone. So I know that 52 years ago, a 12-year-old version of me suffered a sexual abuse. But I can't remember the details of the actual event because I've given the details back. We give the details back. The details live this plane of existence. Like every other memory you have, Chris, in your life, back to the day you were born, you have all these memories. Going back to when you were in junior school, and I remember, I just tell my clients, I remember when I was a child, we had this egg and spoon race. We had a sports day for children. Eggs and spoon race, there was a three-legged race, there was a sack race. As like a 7-year-old child, I believed this was the Olympics. I was out in my back garden all the week beforehand, practicing running up and down the garden with a spoon, with an egg and a spoon, and in a sack, running up and down the garden, training for this big, huge Olympic event, But if I look back at that, I remember doing it, but I don't remember the details of it. I don't remember if it was a hot day or a sunny day, or if I was perspiring, or if I fell and hurt my knee, or what the pain felt like. The details I don't have, but I can tell you, yes, I ran in an egg and spoon race, and yes, I ran in a three-legged race with my friend William, and yes, I did run in a sack race. But the details I can't remember. We have to give the details away; they're not ours. It didn't happen to us because we only exist in these 24 hours.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, is there like a time limit on that then? I mean, we're talking about the very long periods of time, right? But I mean, how long is it before it's no longer yours? I mean, is it the same as saying that 12-year-old Richard versus 64-year-old Richard is the same as yesterday's Richard and today's Richard?
But basically, yes, in the case of what affects you from the past. So, I mean, the Richard I was yesterday was very excited about coming on your podcast today. I've been waiting for it, nearly biting my nails, excited about coming on your podcast. The Richard today is on your podcast. Two completely different Richards, having two completely different experiences. But yesterday wasn't traumatic, so it doesn't come into the equation. And all the other Richards from yesterday back to my childhood, basically all the other Richards, there's no issue there. But there was an issue with a 12-year-old child. And the healing event itself takes 2 hours to complete. We get to where we actually get the details and the baggage of the past back to its younger self. We realize we're betraying our younger self. They never asked once they needed us to carry their pain or suffer their pain. It didn't happen to us. We're meant to give it back. It's not ours to carry. And when we do give it back, we feel this release. It's very hard to describe in words, but when you do the event, you feel this shift in your energy, like this great weight in your shoulders, this hole in your stomach. We have a hole in our soul. No one can see us. We could be walking around the street and everyone thinks we're normal beings. We have this hole in our soul that's eating away at us from the past. I see the hole in our soul, and it's eating away and destroying our spirit, and destroying our will to live, and will to have love or affection or intimacy, or that people get close. So when we get that hole gone, it's like our weight comes off our shoulders, and we have this freedom to actually allow ourselves to be and start relationships, and and have the spirit to go on and have lives. But the event takes about 2 hours. I've never had to work more than 2 hours with any client. And at the end of it, it's shifted. It's just that energy is shifted. And then when you finish the healing event, you realize it's about cause and effect. Science tells us that if we want to heal anything, we must treat the cause and not the effect. But in the world of mental illness, mental disorders, They treat the effect. They treat how it made you feel. They don't treat the cause. They treat how does it make you feel today. So they treat the disorder, the PTSD or the depression or the anxiety or the schizophrenia. But that isn't the problem. The problem is the past trauma memory. And if we can treat the past trauma memory and give it back to our younger self, once the cause is gone, there's no longer any rhyme or reason for the effect to be in a person's life.
It does sound easier said than done, though. I mean, it depends on the person.
It actually, it's very hard for people who have these conditions to hear this. I worked with one client and he'd been with 25 different therapists over probably 30 years in this, embroiled in the system on all the different medications, and he's been to hospitals and rehabs or whatever. And he's almost suicidal. And we do this event, and at the end of it, he's shocked because it feels like he has wasted 30 years of his life building up this whole I'm a victim, this whole life he's been led into being I'm a victim, I have PTSD, I can never be normal. And then in a 2-hour event, that is challenged, and he couldn't deal with that being challenged. He realized he had this whole structure of who he was this broken victim. Now, I'm not judging. Please don't think I'm throwing stones from my glass house. It's a very big challenge to suddenly realize you can let it go in an instant. You can just make a decision, realize the past didn't happen to me, and letting it go. I worked with one client. Most clients have been 2 hours. I remember working with a client who was an ex-Vietnam vet. At the time, he was about 74 years of age. And he 57 years with PTSD and whatever other diagnoses he had in institutions and hospitals and rehabs and you name it. And he developed addictions and whatsoever. But he hadn't lost his faith in God. And I remember coming in to see me, the therapists who were working with him couldn't help him. So they sent him to me to try my magic on him or mine, whatever it was. I don't have any kind of faith in what I could do. But anyway, I worked with this man. And for the word go, he kept saying, oh, thanks be to God. Oh, thanks be to God. Just half an hour into the session, he went, that's it. I'm okay now. Like, after 57 years of carrying this from the age of 18 to 75, 57 years of being diagnosed, he went, it's gone. It's gone. Holy God, it's gone. It's holy God. Oh my God. Thank you, God. It's gone. We didn't finish the session and he went out and he went to his room. And the next morning he came in, he said, it's the first time in 57 years I slept 8 hours without any medication. No nightmares, no flashbacks. And then we did some more stuff and some other stuff he had about having this condition and the effect it had on his wife and his children. We went through that. But most people take an hour and a half to get it done. But it's immediate. I'm not fixing anybody. I haven't got a magic wand. I'm just showing you how for you to heal you. You're the only therapist that can heal you. I can't see inside your brain. I can't see inside your soul, Chris. But I can lead you through this practice. And if you do this practice yourself, you will heal your soul. You'll heal your mind, your heart. You're going to do all the work. Not a therapist, not me. And it's a one-off event. And then after that, then you have to unlearn the dysfunctional behavior of your diagnosis. Now, they say bad habits, you have to repeat a new habit 66 times to replace the old habit. So the 12-step program you'd want to do 66 times. So one a day for 66 days or twice a day, do it in the morning, then do it in the afternoon. Just go through the 12 steps and do them over and over again for 66 days. At the end of that, your PTSD, now, if you have to come off medication, you've got to come off medication. But the old behaviors around the PTSD, around the depression, all that kind of, the manic behavior where you can't trust anybody, you're pushing with your family as well as strangers, and you can't hold down a job. All those behaviors you have to unlearn and then make amends for yourself for behaving like that towards your loved ones and letting people back in. And these 12 steps enable you to do that. So at the end of the 66 days, and again, you're not paying for 66 sessions of therapy. You're doing the 66 steps on your own or with somebody else. And if I work with a client for the healing event, I'll take them to the 12 steps as many times as they want, no charge. It's not a case of, I'm not out to make my living out of one person. So again, and if I can hold a group and just 100 people together will do this 12 step every day for 66 days together. We're meant to do this. We're not meant to be alone. The first 3 steps of the 12 step program says, 1, I can never be a victim again. The one thing we have to learn is what happened to us, we weren't the target. Whatever happened in your past, that we weren't the target. We just happened to be not so much in the wrong place at the wrong time. We just happened to be in the name of that person who was abusing people. If we hadn't been there, it would have been somebody else. It wasn't that he came after Richard Tierney. He came after, he was in his venting of his abuse. And it happened to be that I was in his line of fire, but I wasn't his target. So from this day forward, we accept we're not the victim. No matter what happens in life, whether it's what's happening in world politics or whatever's happening around or what's happening in my country here or what's happening in my family, I'm not the target. Everyone else is doing what they're doing for their benefit. And if it affects me, it affects me, but I'm not the target. So we get to understand we're not victims. And when we make the declaration of not a victim, everything changes. It's like I said to you earlier on, someone throws the ball, I don't catch it. And if I catch it, I don't throw it back. I'm not the victim. Someone threw a ball and it came my direction. It wasn't thrown to me. Someone's just trying to get someone to react to them. I'm not catching the ball. It's not about me. What they're doing that ball, that's them throwing the ball. It's nothing to do with me unless I catch it and throw it back. So I'm not catching the ball and I'm not holding on to it. I'm not throwing it back. So the first step is we're not a victim. And the second step is we're never alone. So I can talk to you, Chris. I can talk to my wife. I can talk to, we don't talk to children. We don't dump from adults' perspective onto children. They're too young for it. But you've got therapists, psychotherapists, pastors, priests, ministers, Christian advisors, life coaches, holistic practitioners. You've got your football coach, your golf coach. You'll be walking down the street. There's a stranger walking by and you kind of go, sorry, you don't know me from Adam, but I need to vent. Can I just vent at you? And then you can walk on and we go on. You can vent to a complete stranger and he'll walk on, you walk on, you feel better for it. I do a thing where we have a small dog, this little chihuahua. I bring him for walks. And I'm out for walk. I just talk to him. Now he doesn't know. He's just there on the lead and we're going for a walk around the village for whatever it is, 7,000 steps or around 5,000 steps. And I'm just venting at this dog. And the dog he doesn't speak English. He hears everything. And then I come in and feel like I've been heard. That's a chihuahua. But it gives me the feeling. So we're never alone. That's the second step. And then the third step is I tell my clients, give God a second chance. What have you got to lose? Don't have to join any religion or any church or any denomination. But in this moment, this is a very big one for me. Something I learned recently. God answers all our prayers all day long. This blew me away. I never understood this. It's not what we learned in church or in school, prayers we learned from somebody else. They were somebody else's prayers and they were powerful for those people. Our prayers are the self-talk, the things we say to ourselves, we think no one's listening. So if I'm thinking, I have depression, no one likes me, I can't get a job, no one wants to give me a job, everybody hates me, I hate my life, my wife doesn't love me, my kids don't love me, my neighbors don't love me, everyone's picking on me. They're my prayers and God gives me tenfold. Because God gave us a book of instructions in free will. And instructions are how to use free will properly. And if we're choosing to ask Him for pain and poverty and scarcity, He doesn't do feelings. If that's what we're asking for, He's giving it to us. So we have to learn. The Bible says, whatever you think on things that are good, like happiness, joy, prosperity, abundance, opulence, health, hope, honor, glory, forgiveness. Think of these things all the time. And when you think of these things, suddenly these things come into your life. So if you want a partner, think about romance and love and intimacy and affection. And suddenly someone asks you out for a date. You kind of go, how did that happen? Well, that's what you ask for. So you learn you have to ask what you want. And if we're asking for the depression of the past and the post-traumatic stress of the past all the time, we're getting that tenfold. So we're our own worst enemy. And I have to tell people, Christians seem to be the most insane bunch of people in the world. They have one Bible, one Father, one Son, and one Holy Spirit. And yet they've got 45,000 different churches and denominations. I mean, how crazy is that? The Muslims have the Quran and they have one, whatever it's temple or church, and the Jews have their book and they've got one temple structure, and the Hindus have their 9 gods and they've got one church for each of the 9 gods. And we Christians are meant to follow the right God. We've got 45,000 different churches and denominations. How insane is that? That we're all fighting over who's control of the right path. So if you never go to a church in your lifetime, don't go to a church. If you never go to a denomination or go to a man-made religion, don't. But just ask God here's a clue one. God will give you peace of mind for 24 hours. So you just try now, okay? Where you sit and say, okay, God, Richard says you give me peace of mind for 24 hours. Give me peace of mind for the next half an hour, for the rest of Chris's podcast. Remove all fear, anxiety, depression, or PTSD, fear of the future, fear of the past. Take it from me for 30 minutes. This is what I asked you for. Cast out my demons for 30 minutes. Thank you. And that's it. And sit back and see what happens. And I promise you, you get a half an hour peace of mind. I can't hear you, Chris.
Apologies, I
Right.
had myself on mute there. You said a lot of things there that were really interesting. How walking with the dog and just talking to the dog can also be a place to vent. I wanted to get your take on this because somebody once told me that dogs and their unconditional love, they actually act as energy conduits. So they're constantly grounded because they're touching the ground and they're going around and they shake things off all the time. So when we unload on them, that's why that they always have to go out and they have to go on the grass because we are insulated from the ground and we can't properly ground because we're wearing shoes or something. Do you think there's anything to that?
That makes great sense. We're all energy. We're all filled with the Holy Spirit. God created every animal on this earth. So I would imagine dog is man's best friend. In the Bible, they talk about the helper. Woman is a man's helper. But at the same time, dog is man's helper. There's so many mentions of the helper in the Bible. And we know dog is a man's best friend, which is like a helper. It helps him through his states of despair, depression. You go and you hug your dog or whatever. Most pets are like that. Women have the same thing with cats. Men have it with dogs. There's a affinity with a small animal that's a pet. That's profound. Whatever your pet is, I believe, yeah, dogs definitely have a wonderful energy. They have a, they something they can look at you like you're having a bad day, and they kind of cock their head like, what are you worried about? I haven't had my dinner yet or something. They'll just give you that look that kind of says, it's not that bad. He hasn't had his dinner yet. He hasn't had his walk. And I'm worried about something's happening in the inside the world. Let it go. So, yeah, I love that concept that there's energy beings all around. And you'll notice it. I went through a phase of hugging trees. I never ever hugged trees. In my early 20s, I met a bunch of people who were really kind of spiritual out there. And I was kind of, I think I was wanted to be a part of it, but we used to hug trees. We went to the forest in Ireland and Scary, and we'd hug trees. And I have to say, it was a great feeling. That's the energy. It was a great feeling when you've got a big oak tree and you put your arms around it and you lay up against it and you held it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It might have been sound really weird and like, who is this feckin' Asian? But there was a sense of connected to. I love trees. I love the idea of all those movies where there's trees come alive, like Lord of the Rings or Stephen Donaldson, one about the Ents or whatever. I just think it's really wonderful, the idea of the trees, the energy that they have. That Avatar, the big tree in the center of Avatar. I mean, they don't make these movies out of nothing. They don't have some meaning to them. And they've designed these movies. They put like an Avatar, the big tree in the center of the planet, and the Ents in Lord of the Rings. There's things that are beyond my comprehension that people have got money put these into movies for a reason. But there's some reason why dogs are a man's best friend. And you see, and the famous one is, what's the man's name? What was his name? The collie who saved the day. Remember the famous collie? American
Lassie?
TV. Yes, yeah. And they save the day every time and so on. Definitely great energy in any animal. I think really wonderful work. I think that's the problem with the world today is we don't know who we can trust, especially for procrastinators or we have trauma. We don't know who we can trust. But you have a pet cat or a dog, you've got someone to hold on to. You've got someone who'll keep you company. You're in tears, bring your dog up on the couch and hold him. And the energy of the dog will really help you, your energy, and you cry into his for in his mind, except that he's been held or whatever. And he takes it all on board, and then again he goes outside and he shakes it off or goes for a run or something. Yeah. I could go on about this kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. Great point.
I love what you say there, and it's true that we can learn a lot from nature in terms of resilience, in terms of I guess the word would be unity. I think is the word I'm looking for. It was recently put out by Neil deGrasse Tyson too. A really famous scientist that inside a plant ecosystem, when a plant is in distress, a tree, a shrub, grass, whatever, the other plants around it will actually send nutrients to that distressed plant, regardless of the species of that plant, which I think was rather amazing.
Phenomenal. That's fantastic. I heard something recently that I like to relate back to the trauma. We're like, at this moment in time, we're in a river. Okay. And it turns out in front of us, there's loads of rivers going in every direction. And we're stuck in this one river that has all this pain and hurt. And all we need to do at any one time is to veer off into another river. Sometimes you feel like you can't veer off. There's all these leeways off the river you're on that you can move at any time. You can just decide now, okay, I'm going left. I'm going to this one or going to that one. And when you make that decision, that's why this takes only 2 hours. When you make that decision to stop carrying the past, stop carrying the pain of another, and live your life today, and you go on that path, everything changes. It's like that we're born to help each other. We're the humans. We're not animals. We're human beings. We're meant to help one another. We're meant to be a part. That's how we procreate. If we didn't work together, the human race would have died out already. Like plants helping each other, we're meant to help each other. We're meant to take care of our people. Governments are meant to look after their people. You see these shots of people living on the streets all around the world. You're kind of going, what are these governments doing? We're meant to take care of all our people, whether it's they're living on the street or they've been diagnosed with something. Our job is to give them their lives back. We have to find some way of get past the greed of taking care of everything for me and even else suffer to saying, okay, no, there's 20,000 people in Chicago living on the streets. We're getting houses and jobs for them. End of story. Before we do anything else with anything else, buy another weapon or do anything else outside the world, we're giving 20,000 jobs and houses to people in Chicago. There's no one living in the streets. And that's the kind of thing, like the plant thing you said. We're meant to be that way. But something happened in our society. Something's happened in the world we live in where we don't take care of ourselves and our people as we should.
Well, something has happened in our society, and you're right in that because it's interesting, and I don't know where that would come from because you're right. Before we were very tribal. We'd be in our tribes and we support the tribe. Everyone had their job. Everyone had their nobody wanted. And then at some point, I guess there was some survival thing that flipped over, right? Probably where we're so afraid for our own survival that we feel like if we help others that we won't survive. Maybe.
But I think the big problem was at one time, America, England, the, we were very, we were very community based. I mean, for us, it was Christianity. So in America, the Constitution, really, whatever, hundreds of years old, your whole constitution, your whole way of life was very Christian based. There's Bible study, pastor, all the different churches, evangelist groups. It was very much the community and the people living together, and you knew each other, and you did service, and you helped the community, and you go to church every Sunday. You'd see all your neighbours at church, and you'd all go together, come home together, and it was wonderful. The same thing in Ireland, the same thing in England. But now I talk to my family in Ireland, and nobody goes to church. You go to my cousins in England, nobody goes to church. You speak to people in Canada and America, and people just don't go to church anymore. They just don't. I guess somewhere we lost that. I think when they took the Bible study out of schools, that was the biggest mistake we made across the world because children weren't being taught about community and service and being Christ-like and taking care of each other. We got a case of dog eat dog and me and whatever. They took the whole Bible and Christianity out of the schools. That was the big mistake I think we made. Whether that was a mistake or a concerted action by somebody, I think that was an error in judgment, I'd like to say. I'd like to bring it back. I'd like to bring it back where Bible they're doing it now in some parts of America. They have Bible study. I think we need to do that. Bible study back in the schools, children back in schools. No more kids getting married and having living women, pregnant women without a husband. I mean, there has to be some stop. It sounds like a hard line or like but we have to take care of our people. Give them some chance. And children need a mother and a father. We have to stop this rot and change the rot. And if it means bringing back Bible study and church and that, to get people to get back into the idea of the family unit and being a part of the family. So again, we're going off top a small bit, but there's a lot in there. There's so much in there about there's so many people who are lost in the world and that they're not getting any help to feel unlost. I worked with a young man in Ireland one time. He'd been in the system so long, there was never a moment where he was free of medication. He'd be this shit, he'd be on medication all day long, all night long. And he was this just like a lost soul, he's like this lost soul, completely lost to society. He couldn't fit into society. No one wanted to be around him, didn't feel safe around him. He had a daughter that he loved, but he couldn't be around her. He couldn't be around her with her friends because they'd see her dad as crazy or something. And this kind of stuff. And it's like somewhere we have to say, this is wrong. I mean, this is just wrong. We can't say this is the solution for. So I like to think that Christians believe that God didn't create us for scarcity, poverty, or for depression or post-traumatic stress or mental illness. They created each and every one of us to live abundantly, of health and prosperity. And that's where we're meant to live. The rest of us are meant to help each other to achieve that. And I believe our podcast today is one of those people who are trying to achieve that. I love this idea that yourself, myself today, Chris, that together we might reach one member of your audience and offer them an olive branch of hope. And they turn their life around and they get to get rid of the past, undo the damaging carnage of their diagnosis and step back into normal life. And then they get married and have children. And maybe in 2 or 3 generations, one of their descendants creates a cure for cancer or AIDS. And no one will know the part you and I played in this. No one will be given medals out to Richard and Chris for their part they played in this. But God will know, and that's all that matters. We're meant to take care of our people. Whether they're Canadian or American or English or Irish or German or French, we're meant to take care and help others get above the floor and get back into life and have an abundant, rich life.
I really like the way that you worded that, and it's true that we do have I'm going to call it disparity, I guess. When we don't see the value in our actions, like you were saying, we might not see the fruit of our actions today, tomorrow, or even in our lifetime, and that causes many people not to act. The Chinese even have like a saying around this. They say that for a society, I'm going to butcher this, so please forgive me. I'm paraphrasing.
That's okay. Go ahead.
The saying goes something like this: society can only truly flourish when man can plant a seed for a tree that he knows he will never, benefit from the shade.
I love that. I heard that before. You plant a seed now, you're never going to see it. It's going to be this fantastic tree in 30 or 40 years, but you planted it. That's the main thing. Others are going to enjoy the tree. Yeah, I love that. I've heard that before. I didn't know it was Chinese. It really makes such wonderful sense. We can invest in a person, in one of your audience. Maybe your audience is one person or 500 people, and we can invest in that one person or that 500 people, and they can go on to move mountains. I mean, they could think of being next Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King or Jimmy Carter or Mother Teresa. We have no idea. But by us being on here today and carrying this message of hope, and if we can reach one poor soul and get them to realize they're not meant to be poor souls, that mental disorder isn't who they are. They're carrying the burden of a past younger self they have to give back. Younger self wants it back. They don't. Younger self never needed any. And this is the one that I love. We would be survived. We would be standing today if our younger self hadn't survived their trauma. They don't need our help in dealing with us because if they hadn't survived it, we wouldn't be alive today. They would have killed themselves. But the fact that we're alive today means they defeated that trauma. They don't need any help from us. So us giving life to it in the present is actually a betrayal of them and self-sabotaging of our life. We're not meant to bring the past into the present. It's none of our business. It's dead already. Our younger self defeated us. Us giving life to it in the present is the most insane thing we can do. This is what's sold to us by the metal industry. When we take it back, and how does that make you feel? It's none of my business to feel it. Like what happened to my younger self, I feel for that younger self, that 12-year-old child, and what he went through. And I'm glad he's now safely in heaven, in the mansion we've heard from in his father's mansion, with all his ancestors and our parents, and he's safe there and happy and joyous and free. And he's taken the details. And I have to remember what happened to him, but it didn't happen to me. I let it go. I'm living my life today. I'm having a great chat here with Chris and his audience.
The way it's being described as well, it's kind of a weird dichotomy though, right? Because that 12-year-old version of ourselves, I mean, was us, but we're essentially saying that person is now, or that individual is now gone, as in, kind of like dead. So we kind of die and are reborn on a constant basis. It's just
Every
kind of
24 hours, we become a new person. If you speak to scientists, they'll tell you your body cells die every day and they're replaced with new cells. At 12 years of age, I didn't have this beard and this gray hair, and I didn't have this 6'6" frame. I was like, whatever it was, 3'7" or 4'1" or something, and curly brown hair and small as a child. So my body has changed, my mind has grown, and I've got more knowledge into my brain, and my emotions have grown as an adult, becoming an adult. My emotions would go from being a child to being an adult. The Bible talks about once we were children and then become adults and we stop being children. Everything about me has changed. I can't say I'm that 12-year-old child. I'm not a 12-year-old child in a 64-year-old body. I'm a 64-year-old man in a 64-year-old body. I have a wife and children. When I go to bed with my wife, it's not a 12-year-old child getting to bed with my wife. It's a 64-year-old man. Everything about us. There's a lot of therapy out there that kind of really promotes this inner child work and this regression therapy. And the idea is, I remember doing the regression. I really never worked with me. The therapist said to me, okay, I want you to go back into the past, meet your younger self, and play games with them and cuddle them and give them cuddles and let them know that they're not alone and you're there for them. You want to keep them safe. But the truth was that if I listened to them, they'd be saying, what the fuck are you doing back here? I don't want you back here. I defeated this already. I put it to bed. Now you're giving it life again. Why the fuck are you giving it? I mean, excuse my language, but it's really, when I had this conversation with my younger self, I had to let my younger self use bad language. As a 12-year-old child saying, what the fuck do you think you're doing giving life to this thing? I defeated already. Why are you allowing this thing, giving it life again, and honoring my abuser and revering my abuser and respecting my abuser? How is this helping me that you're celebrating my abuse over and over again and honoring my abuser? And when I had that conversation with my younger self, I was completely shocked. I was thinking I was doing this great thing of going back and being there for him. But the truth was, he didn't want me to be there. I had nothing to do with it, and I was giving life to a dead thing. He was saying to me, whichever heck of, excuse my language, audience, but this is my conversation with my younger self. He was using all the bad language. He was saying to me, like, he was really angry. He was saying to me, get the fuck out of my life. Give me back my shit so I can go with it and leave this plane of existence. This was a terrible place for me to live. I want to leave. I've been trying to live for the last, get your attention for the last 50 years. Please give me my crap and let me go. And when I got that final message from him, I said yes. And the release in my body was a weight off my shoulders, a weight off my chest. The whole of my soul disappeared. And I felt an utter sense of peace. And that moment it was gone.
Uh, it's interesting because I mean, your younger self is having this conversation, right? And it's so. Why do you think that we feel this need to hold on to that baggage then that isn't ours? Is it because it somehow supposed to keep us safe, or why do you think we hold on to it?
We're meant to have purpose. We're meant to have purpose and meaning to our life. And if you don't have God in your life, you're searching for meaning or purpose wherever you could find it. And most people's idea of meaning purpose is to achieve something. The idea is you achieve Nelson Mandela status or Martin Luther King, or you become a president, or you do something glorious with your name so people can talk about you in history that this person achieved this. And this is our out to be, I was a victim of PTSD. And this can be our purpose, is to go through life to tell all the other victims that, yes, I suffered PTSD and I'm a victim. And there's a sense of a purpose to being a victim. It sounds horrible, but I was there myself for 20 years of my life. I remember it happened to me that I was living here in Thailand. It took me a long time in AA, you have to call a sponsor. I developed addictions of gambling and alcohol. And I had to go to 12-step programs and learn about 12-step recovery. You're meant to get a mentor to teach you through the program. It's called a sponsor. So the way he did the 12 steps, he teaches you how he did this. You repeat that, and you learn a different way of living. So you find someone to trust. And I always had a hard from dealing with someone to give someone trust, especially an older man, because my abuser was around an older man. So I found this man who I finally trusted to work with me. Again, it was a man teaching me how to be a man by doing these 12 steps. And it was a big challenge for me to do that. But when I worked with him, it was really cool. But I used to bitch and moan about what happened to me as a child. And one day he said to me, okay, Richard, we've got to stop this. It didn't happen to you. It's none of your business. You have to let it go and forgive the abuser and forgive your parents for not spotting it. And I was shocked. I'm like, how can he say this? This is my identity, who I am. How can he tell me I've got to let it go? That's like, you don't understand. You can't tell me I have to let it go because this is who I am. I've been this victim for what it was, 30 years. You can't now tell me that it didn't happen to me and I have to let it go. I was in such a state of shock. I stormed out of the room and I went home. And I was going to fire him, and I realized it's taken a lot of work to trust this man. And he had the courage to tell me this. I needed to sit with this and find out why he would say this to me. and if there's any truth in this. And this was the start of my recovery. I came to realize that I had a picture of my home with that 12-year-old child in a school uniform. And back then they wore grey shorts, the white shirt, the blazer, the baseball cap, the school cap on his head. And I put a picture beside the picture I had myself was this old man with a beard, and I could see clearly we weren't the same person, and everything about our lives were different. He lived with his parents, my parents are dead. He lived with his 5 siblings. I only have four now, one died of leukemia. Everything was different. As I really worked at this and looked at him compared to me, I saw that what happened before didn't happen to the person I am today. I'm not saying there's not a memory in my head of what happened to him, and there's details I have to get rid of, but it didn't happen to me today. There's no one abusing me today. I'm safe in Thailand in my home with my wife and my children on a podcast with Chris. And there's no one here right now, any part of today, abusing me. So it didn't happen to me. I had to get that's kind of pedantic with us to really understand. I can't be saying this happened to me because I only exist in these 24 hours. And right now in my life, no one's abusing me.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, it can this idea can probably actually be expanded to big groups of people as well, right? There are groups of people that have been wronged over generations, but now it's not happening to them now. But now the people, well, the descendants of the people that perpetrated this carry an immense sense of guilt and shame and other things. What do you say to those kinds of people?
But second, they're carrying the pain of the past. They're carrying the pain of their ancestors or their parents or their grandparents. And it's not their pain to carry. It'd be like if you could imagine, again, you do the visualization, we see them standing and facing their grandparents. And the grandparents saying to them, what the heck are you doing? And we suffered so much, you'd be free today to have a life beyond our wildest dreams. Why would you dream of bringing our past into your present and sabotaging your present? What are you doing? You have to have that conversation with your younger self. So imagine yourself, Chris, now let's say you're 45 years of age and you've got something happened when you were 15 or something. Try and close your eyes for a moment. Picture you sitting with your 15-year-old. Your 15-year-old, maybe using bad language, maybe not using bad language, but saying to you right now, 45-year-old Chris, would you ever go and do a jump and give me back my crap and go off and have your life with your partner and your children and whatever it is, and your podcast and your work. And please have a life beyond my wildest dreams in your future, in my future, in your present. But give me back my crap. It's nothing to do with you. And we need to have that conversation ourselves for us to realize we are sabotaging our lives by our own choices. And we're betraying our younger self. They never asked us to go back and help. They never wanted us. The worst thing we can do to our inner child is to think that we can practice regression and we're going back to be nice to them because they don't want us to come back. They suffered it, so we'd be free of it today. And for us to go back into the past and play games that, oh, I'm coming back to hold you and mind you and play games with you, they're kind of going, you're not welcome back here. I want to leave this plane of existence. Let me leave. And this then goes into the big problem that most people with depression, PTSD, schizophrenia is they've been given a title, a label. That's PTSD, and that's their title. That's their purpose. They go through life as being a victim of PTSD, and when they die, they're going to wave this in front of God and say, "Look what you let happen to me." And this is their badge of honor or something. And again, please, I'm not putting anyone down when I say this is your badge of honor, because it was my badge of honor. I was going around telling everybody about what happened to me. I'd meet a girl on a date, and I think I'm saying, oh, I suffered with this, and I suffered. They're running a mile, like, so here, this lunatic who's dumping this on the first date kind of stuff. I had no concept of this is none of my business. If I'm going to form a relationship, I can't be scaring people off in the first date. We're so full of, I had to let people know this happened to me. And that's how I have to be treated. And you've got to mind me and take care of me and be responsible for me. And I don't have to be responsible for anything because I am a victim. It's up to everybody else to take care of me. You ask my siblings, if my parents were alive and my siblings were alive, you ask them what I was like growing up. They were saying like, they had to do everything, which was no good for anything. It was like, he acted like a victim and everyone had to do everything for him. It was like, he was an 18-year-old man acting like a 12-year-old child. I stopped growing at 12. So I was a 27-year-old man acting like a 12-year-old child. Immature inner child kind of stuff, you know? And we can get very much like that where we're not growing into adults because we're stuck with this past trauma. So we're suddenly 30, 40 years of age, but inside with this 12-year-old trapped child, which is interesting. And until we can let go of that sense to be a new person, by becoming a new creation. So you make a decision that, okay, it's very late now. I'm 64 years of age. I've got to start from scratch, start over. Okay, I'll start over. I'll start over as a new person today, 64-year-old, and start get a job in a news agent or cleaning streets. I don't care, but I'll get a job and I'll get a place for myself, and I'll have a normal life where I have peace of mind. And then it's not about having millions of pounds in your bank and fancy car and a good-looking girlfriend. All you want is peace of mind, that you have peace of mind. No more nightmares, no more flashbacks, no more of the past. Simple peace of mind. And then that prayer saying, God, give me peace of mind for 30 minutes with Chris and Richard. And you get peace of mind again, going, I can do this. I can ask for 30 minutes here and an hour there. I can do that. So yeah, it's a case of finding some way of just being at peace with yourself, just to live in the present.
Such a powerful bit of wisdom there, and hopefully everybody out there is taking down some notes and listening there. Richard, it's been a great conversation. I could probably go on about this for a little bit more because there's some other avenues we could definitely explore. But as we are coming up pretty close to the time, is there anything that you wish I would have asked but didn't ask, or anything you wish we would have covered but didn't cover?
Well, the fact that this is the procrastinator's pit stop, I'd like to mention something on procrastination for your channel. This is your baby, and it should be given some attention. So what I'd like to say to people is, if you're having a bad time, you can stop and stand still. You don't have to be going forward all the time. You can take a break. The trick is not to go backwards, so especially with procrastination. If you can only do so much to today, and you stay in today for a week or month or 6 months, and then you can start again, that's a win. Okay? As long as you don't go backwards, that's a win. For people with procrastination, the trick is to understand every inch gained is a win. And an inch gain might be stopping right now and staying where I am, enjoying just this moment. Okay? But not going back to my old behaviors, not running away. And if I sit here I know somebody can sit here for an hour, for a year, but try not to. Try and sit maybe for a week and then make another shift and then sit there for a week and then do another shift and then stay there for 2 weeks. Move a decimal. They say about climbing the mountain, they take one step at a time and suddenly 2 years later, you're at the top of the mountain. You don't know how you got there. You took one step at a time. So with procrastination, just one step at a time. Just say to yourself, okay, the past isn't mine. I'm going to sit with that for a while and see what's like. I'm going to get that sheet of paper and put all of my past self on this side and all of my present self. And just for now, I'm going to fill that page up with pictures of my younger self when he was 8, when he was 10, when he was 12, at school, at the spoon and egg and spoon race, like a vision board. Put lots of stuff in there about who was in his life, his parents, his grandparents, his aunts, his uncles, his best friends in school, and those photographs. And this side, everything in the present. So your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, brothers and sisters, where you're living now, and see the difference and understand that this is who I am and that's not who I am. If that's where you go now, and maybe you don't contact me for 6 months, but you get to that stage for 6 months, you really focus on this isn't me, this is me. And that's procrastination. You just stop here and you work on that in this moment without moving anywhere. And then you can kind of go, okay, maybe I'll try Richard's prayer of saying to God, God, give me, when I go to bed tonight, God, give me 8 hours of peaceful sleep. Okay, I'm giving you all my demons. I'm giving you everything. Not forever. I'm not giving it to you forever. I'm going to take it back off you tomorrow. But for now, I'm giving you all my demons from the past, all my resentments and anger and frustration and rage, need for vengeance, for justice, all that blame and hurt. I'm giving it to you for 8 hours. All the doubts and insecurities, fears, 8 hours. Everything I fear for tomorrow and for this my life, 8 hours. All my financial insecurity, give it for 8 hours. Take it from me for 8 hours and give it to you freely. Remove my demons. And then put your head in the pillow, close your eyes, and with a smile on your face, fall asleep. Suddenly you wake up 8 hours later, and you're kind of going, what happened? That's my first 8 hours sleep with no nightmares, no flashbacks, because you cleared your head. It's like giving it to my dog when you're walking. You're giving it to God for 8 hours, and you've declared in your mind 8 hours. And so for 8 hours, all this stuff leads you. So make sure you itemize everything you're giving to. Don't let anyone know you're doing this. If you're an atheist or an unbeliever, as an atheist and non-believer with your friends, but in your bedroom, get down on your knees or sit. I don't sit on my knees. Sit in the chair and say, okay, God, this is what Richard said. I'm giving you all my crap since the day I was born and everything of the future. Take it from me for 8 hours. I give it to you freely and happily. I cast out my demons now. Take them. And then maybe brush your teeth, have a shower, clean yourself up, go into your bed. Put your head in the pillow, close your eyes, put a smile on your lips, and just close your eyes, and you'll find yourself sleeping for 8 hours. And you kind of go, if I get 8 hours sleep, maybe I can get an hour going to work at the commute. Maybe I can get an hour in work before my break. Maybe I can get an hour up until lunch. And you take 30 minutes here, an hour here, whatever, and you slowly build it up. And as you do this, you'll start feeling the change in you and realize you're building a spirit. And by building a spirit, you're reducing the hole in your soul. Most of us, this is the procrastinator's pit stop. So these kind of things will help you to build up to a place where you kind of go, okay, I want to work with Richard and get rid of my demons. I want to do that book and do the healing event and then the 12-step program. But it's okay to take 6 months to get there or take a year to get there. You're just not going back. Okay. You always want, from this moment, you want to try and stay still and do something in this space for a day or a week or a month, or slowly take baby steps till you get to a place. You look back and go, I've come this far. Another one is, okay, I'm going to try to give you a few to take with you. One is, God's name is I am. Not I was and not I will be. God can live in the past, present, and future, but we can only live in the present I am. So if you can do your meditation just using the words I am, and then attach positive things to the I am. So if you've never meditated before, breathe into your nose, out to your mouth. Into your nose, out your mouth, and just say to yourself, I am happy, I am joyous, I am free. I am a new man, I am a new creation, I'm a new being. Just come up with anything that's positive. I am hopeful. I am excited. I'm confident. I am assured. I'm glad I found Chris Abdey's podcast program. I'm glad I listened to Richard today. I'm glad I have a phone. I'm glad I have a computer. I'm glad I have a roof over my head. I'm glad I have food on the table, clothes on my back, this kind of stuff. Just simple, basic things you're happy for, you're grateful for. If you speak gratitude, happiness, all kind of stuff, and with the I am, you'll find things change because God answers your prayers. And suddenly you feel happier than you ever felt before. You'll feel more grateful. It'll just change your thinking. We're like a salad bowl brain. And in our brain, we have all these negative thoughts. So when we're triggered, we reach in and we respond with a negative thought. So you want to fill your head now with positive thoughts. I am happy, joyous, and free. And it happens over time. You go from 100% negative, suddenly you're 80% negative, 20% positive. So 1 in 5, you're going to say something nice. And then it's 50-50. And then 2 out of 4 times, you're going to respond rather than react. And suddenly, as you keep filling your head up, you'll find it's 3 out of 5 times you're going to respond rather than react. Then it's 4 out of 5 times. Then it's maybe 90 out of 99 times you're going to respond rather than react. It's an inside job. No therapist can fix you. I can't fix you, but you can fix you if you do these other things. Chris, thank you.
No, I was just going to say, what a great bit of wisdom there to end the show on. And just before we go, Richard, where can we get the book, and what's the best way to reach out and contact you?
The healing event is only available on the Amazon platform. It's how to heal any past trauma memory. And it's okay for every past trauma memory. What we do is, with the book, you don't get personal with your trauma. We call your trauma a loss of innocence or a loss of trust. And that covers all traumas. So my younger self suffered a loss of innocence, or my younger self suffered a loss of trust. You don't have to trigger you by asking you what happened or how it happened. You're simply, my 12-year-old inner child suffered a loss of trust. My 18-year-old younger self suffered a loss of trust when he went off to fight in a war. Whatever that is, you don't trigger yourself when you're doing the work. So that's the 12-step program is available on Amazon and on multiple book platforms. Look up Trauma Recovery Anonymous, the 2nd edition. It's available on basically every book platform. I have an email address in information@traumarecoveryanonymous.com. And you can send me an email and we can get together. Any questions I have, I'd answer them also. And I don't have much of a social media presence. My son promises he's going to set something up for me, but he's heavily involved in gaming at the moment, so I can't get him. But one of these days, I think he's going to finally set up something for me, and please God, I'll have some presence. That's it. Thank you all.
Excellent. Well, once again, thank you, Richard, and to all our listeners, don't worry, we are going to put that in the show notes for you so that it's easy for you to find. You'll find that below the show. And once again, thanks for tuning in. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, maybe just go out and try to be that motivation and inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.